10 insane crowds that didn't let the wrestlers speak. Let's watch.
Getting heat comes with the territory in wrestling, as heel promos are often met with boos and jeers.
Nice language! Do you teach your children the same talk?
But sometimes a reaction can be so
No,
thunderous or
Grandpa.
negative, the wrestler can't get their words out.
The same talk.
We'll look at various examples today as we highlight 10 times the crowd wouldn't let wrestlers speak.
Ain't that something? Because we get the language from y'all.
Your mouth goes shut!
This segment got a time limit, so shut up.
Thank you! Thank you!
When it comes to heat, few people got more during the PG era than Vicky Guerrero. Her notorious "excuse me" catchphrase was born due to Vicky forgetting her lines.
Oh, really?
But it soon became a way to fire up the crowd that were booing her, with the phrase becoming a staple of her promos.
Yeah, right?
Vicky got some of the most heat of her career on the December 20th Raw from
Like a
2010.
cat.
Here, she and Dolph Ziggler interrupted John Cena, and once Vicky got all the excuse me's out of the way, she went to speak.
Yeah, he's being shouted down.
However, every one of her sentences would be shot down by the fans, leaving Cena in fits of laughter.
I need my ears to hear.
What?
Each time the boos got louder and louder, it was absolute gold. The Austin, Texas crowd showed Vicky no mercy.
Well, we just made the all-time Raw.
Roman Reigns received a similar negative reaction the night after he defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania 33. Reigns was already someone many of the hardcore fans disliked, and this dislike intensified when Roman beat the beloved Undertaker on the grandest stage, especially since Taker had left his hat, jacket, and gloves in the ring following the match, alluding to how this was meant to be the dead man's final match. So when Reigns opened the show the next night, the always raucous
like
Raw
that.
after WrestleMania crowd were ready to let the big dog have it. Every time he lifted the microphone to his mouth, Roman was met with a plethora of boos. The reaction didn't let up, leading to Reigns uttering just one line before leaving to yet more boos. He'd seemingly retired one of the greatest of all time. This was all the ammunition the fans needed, but with just 5 words, Roman was able to set the audience off even more.
This is my yard now.
It was one of the most negative crowd responses ever seen in WWE, even though Reigns wasn't a heel at the time and wouldn't be for another 3 years. However, for that one night in Orlando, Reigns was the most hated man in the business. Next, we go to another post-Mania promo as Dominic Mysterio spoke to the world after losing to his father Ray at WrestleMania 39. Dominic had been a great heel in the run-up to the show of shows, so fans were delighted to see him finally get his comeuppance. Now, the people wanted to rub his nose in the loss by not letting him talk, as Dominic was drowned out by a sea of boos on the April 7, 2023 edition of SmackDown.
At WrestleMania.
The fans didn't want to hear his excuses, and thus they verbally pelted Dom with boos.
I decided not to show aggression.
Boo! Boo!
Then came the "You Suck" chants. Mysterio was eventually able to finish his promo after being booed out of the building by the Portland, Oregon crowd.
Know who sucks? A father who lays his hands on his own son.
It was some great heat
You
and a
wanted
testament
it!
to how well Dominic had been doing
All
as
right.
a heel.
Like I was
Alright.
saying,
Alright. Alright.
I
You
can't.
was asking for it. What do you... Okay.
Edge's return at the 2020 Royal Rumble was an incredibly special moment, as fans were delighted to see the rated R
What is
superstar back in the squared circle. The next night on Raw, Edge was viciously attacked by former tag partner Randy Orton. The next week, Orton looked to explain his actions. However, the Salt Lake City crowd weren't going to make it easy for the Viper. The fans booed him before he grabbed the mic. Then when Orton attempted to speak, the boos were even stronger. The audience didn't want to hear what Randy had to say, as no explanation would justify what he had done to Edge the week prior, since Edge had just come back from a career-ending injury, only to nearly have his career ended for a second time.
Last week,
The crowd instead chanted for Edge and directed "You suck" chants at Orton. The Apex Predator ended up just putting the mic down and left the ring.
I can't do this.
What? And they're cheering.
It was a clever segment and proved sometimes you don't even need to say anything to cut an effective promo. Sure, it was planned ahead of time, but it was still a smart idea, as each time Randy delayed what he was going to say, allowing the boos to build and build. Orton's assault on Edge spoke 1,000 words, while the fans booing Orton spoke just as much. The attack was still fresh in everyone's mind, with the people at their most upset. Orton took advantage of this by letting the crowd cut the promo for him. Randy later explained his beatdown on Edge in a more traditional but still brilliant promo.
I love Edge more than you ever could. No.
Orton's promo was an example of how heat can greatly enhance the story, but this wasn't the case for Bayley on the August 7, 2017 episode of Raw. The week before, Bayley suffered a separated shoulder during a match with Nia Jax. It meant Bayley wouldn't be able to compete for the Raw Women's title at SummerSlam. Bayley came to the ring for an in-ring interview to give her thoughts on the situation. Right as she began to speak, the boos rang out.
Yeah, it sucks. You guys made me feel a lot better. I saw your tweets and your posts.
She thanked the fans for their support, but the booing continued, which Bayley then addressed.
I don't know who's booing. I'm thanking the ones who are not booing right now.
But this only made things worse, with Bayley looking taken aback by the response.
From the WWE Universe.
Bizarro world here in Toronto.
The negative reaction for Bayley wasn't just because Raw was in the so-called Bizarro world of Toronto.
I'm gonna put a smile on my face and look forward to coming back.
It was because a lot of damage had been done to Bayley's character during her feud with Alexa Bliss. Bayley had lost the women's title in her hometown and was then easily defeated at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view when she failed to use a weapon. Not to mention how badly she was made fun of in the infamous This Is Your Life segment that Chairman Vince McMahon himself buried as one of the worst segments in company history.
Bayley, this is your life. Remember that one? That was crickets. Wasn't Bayley's fault, by the way.
Because of the kind of babyface I was, because of the kind of character I was, I just wasn't seen at that level. That's when it was like, it was just not working.
Bayley's booking and popularity at this time was a far cry from her days in NXT, or even a year prior on Raw, which we'll get into next. As here we have an example of a wrestler not being able to speak due to a positive reaction from the crowd, as opposed to a negative one. This occurred on November 7th, 2016, during a segment featuring each member of the Raw Women's Survivor Series team. This included Bayley, who got on the mic and was immediately serenaded by the Glasgow crowd, who sang "Hey Bayley."
I am so excited to be...
The song Bayley is often greeted with when she wrestles in the UK.
Strong contingent of Bayley fans here in Cardiff.
Aww.
Bayley acknowledged the fans and then tried to get back on track with her promo numerous times, but the people just kept singing.
I've been watching all the shows. This is insane.
It made a cool moment, topped off by Bayley's heartwarming reaction.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
The sing-along continued once Charlotte got on the mic, as the Queen also couldn't get a word in over the boisterous crowd.
So the next woman, and
Charlotte was forced to raise her voice, but even then she couldn't drown out the vocal majority.
what are you even saying? These accents are terrible. I will never forget this.
The singing didn't stop until Sasha Banks came out and joined in.
Will you be my girl? That's right.
All in all, it was a vintage UK crowd reaction. The audience sang for so long that the WWE had to edit down their chanting. By the time the show aired, several minutes were cut from the segment.
Are you done yet?
Why would you
UK
ask them
fans
that?
spent nearly 5 minutes singing for Bayley, which is almost as long as the Seattle crowd booed Elias and Kevin Owens for on the October 1st, 2018 Raw. Elias and Owens were cutting a promo together when Elias mentioned that it didn't make sense to have a basketball team in Seattle.
Doesn't make sense, you know? It's like having a basketball team in Seattle.
Referencing the Seattle Supersonics moved to Oklahoma City in 2008. This hit a nerve with the audience as their boos were deafening. The sustained roar lasted for more than 6 minutes.
He's like, I just made a
And it was
mistake.
over a minute before Owens and Elias said another word after the initial chorus of boos rained down.
Kev, you're gonna have to
speak up. These people are being very disrespectful.
I said, you know what else isn't my thing?
Turn my mic up. They need to hear me.
Despite raising their voices and having their mics turned up, KO and Elias could still barely be heard over the merciless booing.
Seattle ruined everything all the time, too. That's why their basketball team left.
Yes.
It was surreal to hear a crowd boo that loudly for so long.
Turn the lights back down. Keep the spotlight on me.
Big Cass and Enzo Amore were a popular team, despite never capturing tag team gold. They split up in the summer of 2017 when Cass turned heel, leading to a feud that lasted several months. The Big Show eventually became involved, leading to a match at SummerSlam where Enzo would be suspended above the ring in a shark cage. 6 days before the match, Big Cass came out for a promo during an episode of Raw from Boston, Massachusetts.
This Sunday at SummerSlam, it'll be...
Cass tried 6 times to start his promo, but he was stopped after each attempt by the audience's boos.
This Sunday at SummerSlam,
Can't even hear yourself
He began
think.
talking over the boos, which in
Or
turn
can't even
became
hear
louder
yourself
and
speak.
more sustained.
When I talk, it matters. When you talk, it does not.
It was surprising to see Cass get that much heat. He made the most of it by continuously stopping on purpose, manipulating the crowd and soaking up the boos, before then talking down to the crowd.
Enzo's the funny guy. He's so funny. I mean, I don't get the joke, but whatever.
One Night Stand 2005 was one of wrestling's most memorable pay-per-views, as we got to witness the original ECW one last time. This show was still under the WWE umbrella though, so some of the company's heel wrestlers ended up having a big presence on the show. The SmackDown crew was led by JBL and had reserved seats on the balcony. Bradshaw cut a scathing promo on ECW and its fans. The people responded with loud, uncensored chants and venomous boos. JBL stopped once, but the fans weren't going to slow down. He shouted over the asshole and shut the fuck up chants.
You can be ECW. You fat ass in a blue shirt.
It was absolute nuclear heat.
I see no women out here, and you're chanting about a male organ. Now tell me who's the fruit booty.
JBL was so good here, they brought him back the next year for One Night Stand 2006, where he once again buried the fans, firing back at the crowd's chants with an all-time funny line.
Booty.
You paid to see me. I didn't pay to see any one of you.
He wasn't even advertised. What the hell's he talking
In both of his
What a big
appearances,
ass
you could
smile.
just tell how much fun Bradshaw was having. He was the
He was
ultimate
having so
bad
much
guy,
fun.
garnering heat most heels dream of.
I am a wrestling.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Period.
As we saw with Bailey earlier, if fans are fed up with the character, they'll make their feelings
Oh, now
known.
that's how
Something
you
Ronda
react.
Rousey realized throughout her first run with
Jesus.
WWE, and especially on the January 28, 2019 edition of Raw. While some fans may have been tired of Rousey as a face,
Fruit
the
booty.
WWE certainly didn't help matters by sending Ronda out to cut a badly scripted promo, which the fans hammered her for.
Last year, I stepped into this ring for the first ever all-women's Royal Rumble.
You could sense that Rousey wasn't feeling the material that was written for her. She watched on as the crowd chewed up and spat out her every sentence.
I think Sasha made me get better today than she was just... All right, you got me to stutter. Good job.
Causing her to pause multiple times and then stutter as the boos and chants for Becky Lynch rained down.
Than any competitor I have ever faced.
All Ronda could do was smile and say things under her breath, no doubt frustrated at the situation. She began to play with the audience before finally being cut off by Bailey's music. Rousey was put in a tough spot, as cold promos talking to the audience like this were not her forte.
Yeah, they had to
Ronda
save
was
her.
far better later in the show when she had someone to verbally spar with in the form of Becky Lynch.
I can re-break your face faster than you could say Nia Jax.
And that brings us to the end of this video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed this one, be sure to check out a similar video of 10
Like-
wrestlers who...
I know, like, a lot of these things are like planned for them to say, for them to get like a reaction from the crowd or whatever. Like, okay, you're gonna say this and it's gonna make the crowd go crazy, and then you're gonna say this after. But my favorite is always when they improvise, when they go off script a little bit. I love that shit because it's just, you can kind of see a little bit of the person come out. You know what I'm saying? Especially like when they're having fun and they're trolling back. I love that shit so much. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this reaction, y'all. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see y'all in the next one. Toodles.